The Mariners beat up the Astros again, and they're almost back to 500. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the series analysis episode of the Seattle Baseline Podcast. My name is Julian Smith, and I'm with Alex Hong. Alex, another Astros series, another series win. This time it's not a sweep, but Mariners are 3-1 in this series. So, how are you feeling so far? Because I know there's so much up and down with the Mariners. So I'd love to know what's going through your mind here.
Yeah. It's funny because you mentioned that they're back to 500 or almost back to
Almost,
500.
yeah.
Well, that we've been saying that basically for like over a month now, I feel like. Every time they get close, they take a turnaround and it goes back down, then it goes up, and we never really like eclipse 500. We've always been at or below. So, hopefully it's gonna change, but and to be honest, the Astros feel a lot different compared to when they normally do. Normally, when we go against the Astros in previous years, we're like, wow, this is a big series. The Mariners really got to lock in. But now it feels like, wow, the Astros are the weak link in the division, it appears like. Because, yeah, that pitching staff is pretty bad. And, it's funny because Tetsuya Imai, he had that terrible start, like that, like probably one of the worst starts like in MLB history, right? The first time. And then he comes back. He had a significantly better start than his first one, but it was still bad. But that's because it couldn't get worse than what he did the first time. So, I liked what I saw overall.
Yeah, because we've been talking about how bad Luis Castillo is this season, and well, he had a good start this time, but he hasn't had a 7 ERA the way that two of those Astros pitchers had this year. So that goes to show how actually horrible the Astros pitching staff has been, and how the pitching staff is completely dragging down their team. But I do want to mention because Luis Castillo finally had a start that he can like rest his hat on, and he didn't have a quality start, but he had a start where it felt like this is exactly what he needed, where he had 5 2/3, and then he had 3 earned runs. It's not bad. That's exactly what you want. Here's what he did better this series and this game. He went out and he used his changeup, and that's all it took, because now he has, instead of a three pitch mix of a four seam sinker and a slider, now he has those three plus the changeup. So I thought that the transition there was good. Maybe that was something that Mitch Garver was saying to him behind the scenes. I felt like overall the strategy behind the pitching was different, and it was something, it was a change that definitely, whether it was good or bad in like actual analytics, the the change was something that Luis Castillo really needed to do. So I thought that was pretty awesome.
Yeah, definitely there. There's a lot of things that went well as well on offense for the Mariners, which is good to see because of some recent struggles they had before. And, we talked about how just they're just not, it's just like it felt like we're just against this inferior team. I just feel like it's like those times where we go against like the White Sox of last year, or and they might not be as bad as like the Rockies of last year. It just feels like wow, this team's just got really nothing going on for them. Now Jordan's good, like we talked about. He played well, but it was just kind of a beatdown. And it's really unfortunate we lost that third game. I think we really could have capitalized. Like this was definitely like a sweep is hard, but I feel like sweeping the Astros this year is not too difficult of a task. And it's crazy to say that compared to previous years. But other things I liked is Randy Arozarena. He had himself a series. Like he's really on something right now because he's been really, really good. So this is, Randy, I think because he's on that tender right now. Who knows? The way he's playing, he might not be on the team next year because I don't know if we're able to afford him considering how well he's playing. So that props to him on that. And yeah, it was just there's a lot of things I like to see, and it's not just Randy. Like a lot of people on the offense played well. I really like seeing Luke Raley. He had that rough stretch for a while after that really really hot start, and then but it looks like he's back. So there's a lot of things I like.
Yeah, and when I I think this is interesting with Randy because I think that when the Rays traded him over to the Mariners in the trade deadline a couple years ago, he wasn't the superstar. He was more the washed up veteran version of himself. And I remember he was clearly worse against the fastball. He was hitting like 250 against the fastball before he got traded to the Mariners, and then he was hitting like 180. I remember that stat. I think it was one of the first episodes of the Seattle Baseline podcast was like talking about how Randy Arozarena is like not able to hit the fastball anymore. And look at him now. Well, he's mashing the fastball. He's currently hitting above 300 overall, and he's got an OPS around 850. That's elite level stuff. That's like our left fielder is perennial all-star level player right now. And I just thought that was pretty cool because the guy that everybody thought was washed and like he wasn't good enough anymore, he was too old to get better. Well, there you have it. Randy Rosarena is playing like the best baseball that he's ever played. And so I think that goes to show the Mariners' ability to develop these players. And I just thought that was a really cool thing to notice. Another thing that I thought was cool about this series, Bryce Miller's return. Bryce Miller returns every time he goes through an injury. I feel like he goes into this like upgraded version of himself, and this time was no different. He goes and starts throwing 99. I where was that? Bryce Miller to me was like the 95-mile-per-hour guy that had a good riding fastball and a bunch of pitches in his repertoire. All of a sudden, he debuts 99 in his arsenal. That's insane. That's not what I expected him to be able to do this year. So I don't know what type of post-injury training he went through with the pitching coaches, but that was some really good upgrade that he went through, especially because the fastball is his biggest weapon with the riding fastball. And when he has a riding fastball like that has so much velocity, now you have to respect that he's probably going to throw a slider next pitch. Now he's going to throw a knuckle curve next pitch. What is he going to throw? Well, now you have if you had three blinks to notice what type of pitch he was throwing, now you have two. And that one blink is the change that changes everything. Now, when you add the fact that his control, his command of his pitches was not just the same, but better than it already was in previous seasons. I think this year, Bryce Miller coming back from injury, barring the possibility of him getting re-injured, is going to be one of the best versions of himself that we've ever seen. That this version of Bryce Miller, I am so excited to see.
Yeah, and hopefully it stays that way because you're right. Not only was his fastball faster, I feel like his splitter was even better. I don't know. I really like what I saw out of Bryce. It was really good. Now I'm not sure if this is just because this is the first start of the season. He's fresh, and in my word, I don't know. That could be the explanation. Is usually rising in velocity that much is not like too common. But we'll see what happens down the line. But I'm happy to have Bryce back. His first start was pretty good, so it's because he didn't have that good of a year last year. I know he had a good postseason, but his regular season wasn't as good. So I really like to see Bryce have a better year because just think about our pitching staff, right? Even with Castillo, as you talked about, at least we're not Houston throwing out. Castillo is one of their better pitchers, right? I'm sure they would love to have started Castillo instead of like Imai, for example. So, and not to hate on Imai or anything. I'm not saying he's completely trash or anything like that. It's just the way he's been playing so far. But yeah, it's just nice to have a surplus in this position. And it's just really like if you think about the Mariners and like how they've been playing, I feel like they should be have a better record than they do. It's really unfortunate that they don't. And they've been doing this on top of all the injuries and stuff we had, like even stuff guys like Jose Ferrer, he had the paternity leave and stuff, so that's like fine, but at least he's coming back. But even then, we have to deal with so many guys coming in and out. And one of the guys who just can't went out is someone we definitely need to talk about, and that's Cal Raleigh.
Oh yeah, Cal Raleigh. he broke his 0 for 38 slump just the other day,
Yeah.
and then a day later we watch him play and he's clearly clutching his right side. It's like, oh, here we go again. Cal Raleigh's about to get injured. And then I think it was a really good idea that he was placed on the injured list. Not saying I want him on the injured list, just saying that if he is injured, he should be on the injured list, actually healing from his injuries, not, you know, just being out there, being half the version of himself. We already saw that with Jorge Polanco in 2024. He played through the patellar tendon injury. That should have never happened. But we saw the difference that it made when he wasn't injured in 2025. With Cal Raleigh, I want him to be able to heal as fast as he can, not just let it linger on himself. Just I need him to take 100%, fix it now, 100% play later. And I think that's what the Mariners are doing with him right now. So it sucks to not have Cal Raleigh because he's probably one of our best players, if not our best at this point. But knowing that he's going to come back healthy in, at least by mid to end of season, that gives me a lot of confidence.
Yeah. With the oblique strain, right, is what he had. Those things can linger. So I'm really not sure how long he's going to be out, but I don't want to rush him back to the point where it gets re-aggravated again and then, it keeps going on. I'd rather him like maybe miss an extra week just to ensure that he can get better. And this might be something that lingers on for a while. Who knows, right? These oblique injuries can sometimes be painful to deal with because it's just, and think about what Cal Raleigh does. He's a catcher. He's always squatting, he's always in a position where he's using his oblique. So it's like it'd be one thing if he was a DH, right? Then okay, he could probably get away with it, but definitely not a guy like Cal Raleigh. We need his abilities behind the plate as well. So he's an important guy on our team. So it's really unfortunate that he's out. So I guess to replace him, we have Garver on the team and Johnny Pereda. He's another guy we have on catcher. So I guess those two are going to be rotating. And funny enough, Mitch Garver hit a home run today. That
Against
was
the
not,
righty.
yeah, against the right-handed pitcher. That was not on my bingo card. That
No.
I don't know when the last time. I don't know the last time we had him face a left-handed pitcher because Cal Raleigh, has never been really injured at all.
Hmm.
So it might have been that first year he was here, but yeah, it's funny how Garver did that. I'm not expecting like too much from Garver. I like what he does behind the plate. It's pretty serviceable and pretty good in my eyes. He's just doing just fine back there. So. Yeah, I think we can hold down the fort at catcher. And most teams don't have like an all-star catcher like we do with Cal Raleigh. So this is not like missing some offense in the catcher position is not as like bad in my eyes.
Yeah, and I think having Mitch Garver, somebody who used to be a starting catcher for a World Series team, I think that that's a pretty awesome thing that the Mariners have. Another thing that I think Mitch Garver brings is a different perspective than Cal Raleigh, and whether or not like whether which perspective is better, well, that's up to the interpretations of the pitchers. But Mitch Garver, we going back to that Castillo thing I was mentioning earlier, the new strategy really settled Luis Castillo after a large slump. And I felt like Mitch Garver has this ability to talk to the pitchers and like sit down with them. Hey, this is what you're doing right now on the bench. I think it was George Kirby was talking about how good of a catcher Mitch Garver was for him 2 years ago when he first started with Garver for the first time, and how he was going through with the iPad, like, this is where you're throwing it, this is where I want you to throw it, going through every motion. And I think that Garver brings that sincerity to like every pitch that he calls throughout the game. And I think that having both catchers like that is a really big addition for the Mariners. But moving on to the Padres series, this is the Vetter Cup. We absolutely hate the Padres because they are the rival team, and not as much as we hate the Astros. Astros suck, but
Yeah,
Padres
don't get that
very
twisted.
yeah. We hate the Padres too. This is like what we do. We are professional San Diego Padres haters as Seattle Mariners fans here. And you know, as much as I hate the Padres team, the guy that we're missing, I am so happy to be missing Michael King this series. So, Alex, how do you feel about the Padres this year? And what are the Mariners' keys to win this series?
Yeah, we're actually, if we look at the Padres, now they haven't, at the time of this recording, they haven't actually fully listed their rotation, like their expected rotation. But I believe we have, because they have some injuries on that starting rotation. I believe we might get a bullpen game in that third game. I just know you're right. We're not against Michael King. And I know how well he's been doing, especially because I have him in fantasy and he's been doing good for me. I can tell some of these players, oh, they're doing good for me. But yeah, thankfully I don't need to worry about that in this series. But the Padres are quite interesting. They have a lot of wins, but their team in general isn't playing too well. Like they're not playing too well as of recently. When you think of Padres, you usually think of like Tatis. He's been terrible this season. I'm not sure what exactly happened with him, but it's not too inspiring of a team at the current moment, but they do have, they have a good amount of wins. They are tied for first in that division with the Dodgers, so I gotta give them props for that. They're finding ways to win out there. But what do you think is the thing we should worry about with this Padres team, Julian?
Don't underestimate Ty France. Ty France is currently hitting 250 with almost an OPS of 800. This guy is like back to his winning ways with the Padres. I guess when he was first traded to the Mariners, he was playing well, and then like gradually he started to get worse and worse. Maybe something with the Padres staff, the coaching staff, actually like triggers something that Ty France is able to do. Um, Nick Castellanos is a guy that's new for the Padres. He's not playing well. There's a lot of players, as you just said. There's a lot of these players that we know like their names, they're not playing well, especially Tatis, Manny Machado.
Machado, yeah,
Yeah.
he's
Like,
old though. I mean, it's not too surprising, but yeah.
yeah. But I didn't expect him to be hitting less than 200. Jackson Merrill, same thing. I'm surprised that they're able to win this much, but one thing that gets me not as surprised is looking at their bullpen. If the Mariners need to capitalize on the Padres bullpen. I think we played the Padres a few weeks ago, and we said the same stuff. You need to watch out for the bullpen because Mason Miller is playing like the most unhittable pitcher in the league right now, and the rest of their bullpen basically the same story. So the pitching is definitely the calling card for the Padres, especially that bullpen. So if you can attack the starting pitcher and then maybe you score 4 runs off the starter, get to the bullpen as quickly as you can, burn out their bullpen. Rest of the series, they don't have the whole bullpen. I think that's the key for the Mariners. They need to be able to do that because the pitching wise for the Mariners, we can hold down the offense all we want. But if we lose the game 1-0, we know exactly why that happened. And that's because the Padres bullpen is that good. And so the Mariners hitting as I wouldn't say bad, but not to the full potential that they should be playing. The Padres aren't going to struggle as much to keep the Mariners down. The Mariners need to capitalize on the good pitching they have and score just enough runs.
Definitely. And let's look at it. Mason Miller, he's a beast, right? He's amazing. He's awesome. He knows what he's doing. So we got to really watch out for him. Adrian Morejon, he was an all-star last year, I believe. He's not having as good of a year this year, but I'm still worried about these guys. They're established, they have a lot of experience, right? Additionally, like Jason Adam, I believe he was also an all-star. Like if you just think about Padres, like wow, they just have like bullpen after bullpen after bullpen. Right, so this is a really big concern I have if we can't get to the starters. Now, the starting pitching, remember, is like we said talked about, is not going to be as good because we're not against their best guys, and it's just not as good as their bullpen. Now, it's kind of a little more difficult to be better than their bullpen, to be honest, their starters, because their bullpen's so amazing. But we have to attack early. If we attack early in the game, don't allow ourselves to get into a situation where Mason Miller's coming in. That first series we had against the Padres, I don't exactly remember which game this was. I just remember Mason Miller came in and embarrassed us. It was like I think it was three. I think you remember what I'm talking about, but it was like
Yeah.
three strikeouts in a row. It was like instant. It was just like it was over. It was over. He came in, it was done. So we can't get ourselves into that situation because if Mason Miller's coming at the end of the game, it's probably over. It's like what Munoz was last year to us, but even better, I'd say, with Mason Miller. So,
So one thing
mhm,
with Mason Miller that I want to mention is that when he started this season, and he started this season on the highest note he could have possibly started, he changed his arm angle. He has a higher arm angle right now, which helps him get the fastball to ride a little bit more, and then the slider to drop more. So the vertical movement is a lot more. Whether or he was getting the now he has more vertical than he has the horizontal because of the arm movement. I think the scouting reports have been better against him recently, and the Mason Miller isn't his earn run average isn't zero anymore. So I think that a lot of the scouting reports have definitely been better for him, and the Mariners have an opportunity here to strike against him when he is actually very vulnerable. So I'm excited to see how the Mariners do in this series. I think that the Padres aren't as undefeatable as they seemed in the first series that we went against them this year. And honestly, the Mariners, the way that they're playing right now with Brendan Donovan back and Bryce Miller back. Well, Bryce Miller isn't pitching this series, but with all the guys that are coming back, Jose Ferrer, that's a big one that's coming back. So
mhm.
I'm excited to see how the Mariners do this series. Let us know what you guys think. Comment down below what do you think's going on with the Mariners, and do you think that they can eclipse 500 against the Padres, maybe sweep them? Please
Oh,
let us
that's
know.
maybe a
Yeah,
sweep. It can't go worse than the last series, let me say,
yeah,
because we got swept.
yeah,
So, the only way we can compete in this better cup is if we sweep them, and that's only a tie. So,
yeah.
it's not good. It can't. Let's hope it doesn't go like the last Padres series went.
Oh yeah. So please let us know. We'd love to know your opinions. Thank you everyone for tuning in. Check us out on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and our beautiful faces on YouTube. Check out our Instagram, and as always, go Mariners.
Go Mariners.